Why do you think no horror film has ever made $1 billion? Well, I think the answer is kind of the obvious answer. There's two obvious answers as to why no horror film has ever made $1 billion. And, well, kind of three obvious ones. First off, not that many movies have actually made $1 billion in the history of cinema. It's something like 60 movies, something like that. I have some ranking, but it's like 50 to 60 movies have made $1 billion. And in the history of movies, that's a very small number. Each year, like in the years where like we're crazy over the last decade, where a lot of movies have hit $1 billion, it's still like 7, 8 like movies. Like the movies that made $1 billion are almost all from the last decade, and then a handful sprinkling back to the late 90s. So you're only really looking at since like Titanic or something like that movies have been hitting $1 billion. So right off the bat, there's not a lot of movies that do that. And the movies that hit $1 billion, second reason, all but one of them are PG-13 or PG. I don't even know how many PG movies have hit $1 billion. There might not even be any of those. They're almost all PG-13. You've got Joker hit $1 billion, and the rest are PG-13. And so the horror genre, the ones that people tend to really like that are true horror films, high percentage of them are rated R. So immediately, as soon as a large percentage of your genre is rated R, it's extraordinarily unlikely that you're going to get to $1 billion, because you're just factoring out a percentage of people that they can't even watch the movie. PG-13 movies hit $1 billion. And even our one R-rated movie that did hit $1 billion was a comic book movie. The next two highest grossing R-rated movies of all time, Deadpool movies, comic book movies. Like rated R movies it's tough to make a ton of money when you're cutting off anyone under the age of 18. Tying almost into that exact same idea, to hit $1 billion, you have to have an extraordinarily broad group of people that go see your film. So sometimes we talk about like 4-quadrant movies that men and women like, as well as young and old. So if your movie's R-rated, you cut off young. You cut off half of your 4 quadrants, so it's just men and women. No one under 18, there's whatever is seeing your movie, or very few people under 18 are seeing your movie. You limit immediately. But along those exact same lines, horror is a genre that a lot of people just don't like. There's gigantic masses of people that enjoy zero horror. And it's not like, well, I don't like they just don't like being scared by a movie. They don't like gore. They don't like creepy things. It's a genre that inherently is polarizing. People love it, love horror. They like being scared. They like creepy stuff. They like gore. They like violence. They like the occult or whatever, slashers. And there's people that watch none of it at all. Like even, some of my movie critic peers, they just don't like any horror. So they don't even watch them. They don't even review them because they don't like any of it, which sounds crazy to people that are in the horror group. But there's people that they'll watch horror movies and that's all they watch. There's horror conventions all the time. Me and Cody Leach are going to a horror film festival in 2 weeks. That's where we're going to be at the beginning of April. And so it's a genre that inherently a bunch of people just won't go see any of the movies. And so you have to find a movie that is so mass appeal that every horror fan goes to go see it. Plus, you're able to pull in some of these people that go see almost no horror films. And that's just tough. Like, how do you make a horror movie that is inherently polarizing genre that appeals to everyone? And in particular, horror movies, when they're like R-rated, are the ones that usually excite the horror base. And so if you go rated R, you cut off half your audience. And so the thing that excites the base also loses half the audience. And so it's just a tough genre for that reason to hit $1 billion. At the same time, it's really easy to make a highly profitable horror film. Like, that's why your Blumhouse, like, they make these movies $5 million, it makes $100 million, they're just printing money. So it's an interesting genre because it's very difficult to get to that $1 billion club with horror films, but it's also very easy, maybe of genres, the easiest genre to make a profitable film because there is such a strong base that'll go see it. And you don't need a bunch of money to make a horror film. But, you know, like what's, I don't know, like The Conjuring as a franchise is extraordinarily successful. The It movies were very successful. But, you know, like even with It, you're talking about, it's Stephen King, one of his most popular books. And then kind of tied right in that ballpark of when Stranger Things was really exciting and we had the Stranger Things kids in there. And there's a couple of those things that kind of elevated. It was really good. It has a coming of age vibe to it while being scary. And even it couldn't hit $1 billion. So I think of it in that category of like, how big is the pool of people that can go see this movie? An Avengers movie, it's designed that you can take your elementary age kids, you can take grandma, the whole family can go. And there's a little bit of something for everyone. It's exciting, it's funny, it's big, feels cinematic. Horror movies, it's just not quite that has that broad appeal where everyone can go. I think about it that way. Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.